What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Moon Lagoon. I'm Lucid and I'm living out of my car. If you are new to my channel, I've basically been living out of my car for 2 months now, just traveling, going to new places, making the most out of a situation which was originally supposed to be me living in a van. It didn't work out, etc. and so on. Watch my other videos to get that story. I just kind of wanted to make this a quick one. I just came out of meditation. And happy new moon, by the way. This is a very big, very important new moon, all about setting the intentions that you really want to manifest for your life for like the rest of this year, like things that you really want to start birthing and make new with the spring equinox, with all the changes going on. But as I was sitting in meditation, I was thinking about this virus that's been going on, and I think because I've been living out of my car, I am offered a different perspective to this whole situation than everybody else. I'm sure other people who live in vans and cars are also noticing the differences as well, because I feel much more like a spectator in this whole scenario, where I'm really watching people who I know are in those more 9 to 5, more of those routine, scheduled types of flows where you kind of become not brainwashed, but you kind of just become like numb to your process, to your cycle. And I feel like because of this quarantine, it is kind of jolting people out of that routine that they're used to being in and helping them reflect. And something that I hope that you'll reflect on during this time is that this virus, if you do the research and you look up what the virus is, if you look up how many people have lost their lives to it and the demographic that those people were, you'll start to recognize that the fear that's being drawn in from this is a lot less to do with the actuality of the virus and more with what people are choosing to believe. And I know some of what I'll say will trigger people, and that's okay. It's my opinion, so that's all that it is. I'm just offering my perspective in case it helps anyone. But as I was sitting in meditation, I was thinking about why everyone's so freaked out about this virus. I've just been really confused about why this one is such a big deal compared to like all the other viruses, cancer. Like there's so many other things that people could choose to be afraid of. And honestly, I feel like most of us, if we heard about some virus that was just like kind of mentioned briefly in the news, we'd be like, oh, okay, whatever. But because the news keeps pushing it and pushing it, because media keeps sending you messages, they keep sending you texts, they keep sending you this and that, and each one of your social media outlets, it's just pushing it more and more. And it's almost like you're just being told to be afraid of it versus actually being afraid of it, because I guarantee you that if the news hadn't been talking about any of this, no one would care. No one would probably even know. It's the power of the media. It's the power of that platform. And I think what will be helpful and something that I felt moved to share, I hope some people take something away from this, because I feel like we're in a really important time where you can really choose whether or not you're going to allow someone or something else to tell you how to feel about something versus choosing through your own research and your own intuition what you believe. And the best analogy I could think of is, imagine that life is like school, and imagine that when you're in this life being underneath the government would be like your teacher. And so you're in the classroom and the government is your teacher telling you what to do. So the government's like our teacher telling us this and this and that, and you're just listening, taking notes, etc. and so on. And if some of those students start saying, this doesn't make sense, if some of those students start questioning, like, are you sure you're not making this up? When you start thinking for yourself, the teachers get a little freaked out because they need that control. They need that power because that's their job. They're like, no, you got to do what I say. I'm the authority here. You don't know what you're talking about, even though most of us already originally do know what's best for us. And so with this, the teacher's like, okay, well, we need to implement some kind of system where the children or the students will never question. They'll never question what our knowledge is. They'll never doubt us. They'll never think, oh, what we're saying to them. They'll never think that we're lying to them. They'll never think that. We need to make sure they don't ever think we're lying. And so I feel like in this analogy that I'm going with, you got to follow me here. If the teachers want the students to behave, they're going to use fear tactics and like not want that source of a student listening out of respect, but out of fear, because that is how you control somebody. You can't control someone who respects you because they just respect you and that's it. You have to control someone through fear. Fear is the way that people are easily controlled, because they're afraid of getting in trouble, afraid of this, so they listen. And so I feel like right now with this virus, what's going on is basically the government's like pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, because they started noticing, people are starting to notice the like the whole flaws in our economic system and the patriarchy, we're starting to all notice, like, okay, why are we listening to this governing body? Why are we going through this 9 to 5, this and this and that, following these paths and these steps towards things that don't make us happy, towards things that make us feel unfulfilled and stressed out, where depression rates are rising and suicide rates are rising and everyone is unhappy and just pretending to be happy for social media? Why is that continually being perpetuated? What's going on? When people start questioning that and start trying to like exit a system, like saying, okay, I don't want to be in this classroom anymore, I don't need to be a student here, I'm going to go live my own life, the teachers don't want that, because that's their power, that's their source of control. And so I really feel like this virus stuff that's been going on is, like I mentioned in another video, I think it's kind of covering up a recession, or it's covering up some other things. I can't prove that. This is just my thoughts on it. And I really feel that with that need for control, that's why it's being pushed so harshly versus any other thing that could really kill you. Like, there are so many things. So I'm just wondering why everyone chose to be so worried about this, why everyone chose. And I feel like it's a test. I feel like they're trying to gauge, they're trying to do like a litmus test, like, let's see how many people are still going to be listening to the government, let's see how many people still choose to like believe everything we say. And this is their test of that. This is to see on a grand scale all the people who are going out and buying large amounts of all these things that you wouldn't necessarily need as long as you wash your hands and you keep your distance. It's not even a strong strain or a strong virus if you are healthy. If you are, like, obviously if you have a weakened immune system and other things, then that affects you differently. But for the most part, if no one even knew that this was happening, none of you would be affected. And I'm not trying to say you wouldn't, but these are my thoughts on it. And so with that analogy, I'm really hoping that people decide that the teachers that have been telling you all this stuff, they don't need to be your teacher, because you are your own teacher. You know exactly what it is that is right for you and for your life, and you have known that since you were a child. But through school and through that government and school, literally, they brainwashed and told you over and over again, this is what you should want, this is what you should do, this is who you are, this is what you need to believe, that you forget that. But the second that there starts to be students in that classroom who are like, you know what, I don't believe this teacher. Why do I have to believe this teacher? And I was always one of those people who was like, how do I know what you're telling me is even true? Like, why should I just believe you? And so when that starts happening, you start exiting that. You can start to be like, okay, I don't need to go to that school. I don't need to go to the class. I don't need to be under a student of the government. I can be my own teacher. And you go back to your childhood and you remember everything that you really used to love to do. You remember everything that really made you happy, really made you fulfilled. You can apply that to your adult life. It is not impossible. And a lot of people are doing it and beginning to do it, and it's starting to grow, but you have to choose that. And I really wanted to share this now because we're in an important astrological time period and galactic time period and all kinds of periods where you can really choose, you know what? I don't want to live by that system anymore. What can I do to start changing that? What can I decide in my personal life to start changing, to live more for me, to live more for what I long to do, and not feel like I'm stuck in a rut, stuck in a system that I don't even believe in, that I was just told to believe in? How do I open my eyes and recognize that I am a human being on this planet Earth with all these other human beings, and we were not made to be put here to work a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday and do that and be another brick in the wall and do that every day until you die? That's not what your purpose is. And so if you go back into your childhood and remember what you love to do, I always loved to sing, I always loved to dance, I always loved to create, I always loved to travel, I love to explore, and that is what I am starting to do now in my real life. That's what I'm starting to actually put into practice. That's something that I stepped out to do, and I'm hoping that, like, through the other videos that I'll be sharing on my channel, me exploring and me like being out here and just like doing it, that other people can recognize that you can do it for yourself. And it doesn't necessarily mean, some people probably do enjoy a Monday to Friday 9 to 5, but it has to come from you wanting it, from you finding joy in that. Some people like that routine. You have to go by what works for you, not what works for anybody else, because it's not their life, it's your life. And I don't want to get on a soapbox any more than I already have. I'm basically just trying to say, really think about if you're choosing to be afraid of this virus because you really fear that you could get sick, or if you just keep seeing it over and over again on the media, in social media, on the news, and you're choosing to become a part of the sheep. You're choosing to become a part of that herd that just kind of goes where the teacher says and does what the teacher says. Or if you're like, you know what, I don't need to be a student to this. I have better things to do. There are plenty of other things that could cause me harm and potentially hurt me. I don't need to focus on this. I have things that I need to focus on, and it's happening now because the time is now. The changes need to happen now. You have to choose you now. before it's too late. I don't want to sound conspiracy theorist saying that. But anyway, that was just something I was really thinking about today, and I just really wanted to share it because I'm really hoping that whoever watches this really does take a moment to think about like their own life and the things that they want to do and recognize that you can do it. All it takes is using a new perspective, looking at things from an outside point of view. Imagine yourself literally like zooming out of Earth. Imagine you're looking down at the Earth and looking down at your life and be like, do I like what I see? How do I change that? I can change that. There are plenty of people who have done it, and you see them all the time, and you think that there are people who could do it because they had this and this and that, but a lot of them manifested. A lot of them didn't stop working. A lot of them kept going for it. A lot of them kept doing it even if it was hard, even if it was uncomfortable, or made them realize things about themselves that they were mad that they let themselves be stuck in for so long. So please don't get stuck in that. Please. I hope you don't. I'm thankful for everyone who follows me and follows this channel, and I really hope that you took something from this message. I really hope that it does something for you, and it really helps you to set an intention for yourself for the rest of this year. It's going to be a big year. I'm really excited for the changes I'm making in my life and the things that I'll be doing, the places I'll be going and exploring. And I hope you stay tuned for that. I really appreciate everyone who's listening. Choose faith. Choose you. Don't choose fear. Okay. Peace and love.